Hello and welcome to the DM's Travel Book Club, a guide to Faerun, where we take a whistle-stop tour around the Forgotten Realms, see the sights, meet the people, and discover hidden treasures. Ah, there you go, seamless. No one will ever know. Oh, let me tell you, Hamilton, I am glad that we are out of the Dale Lands. I'm ready to.
Me too.
I've got out of those trees, got out of the out
Yeah.
of the weird forests and all the random different politics and stuff, and I am glad that we are here in the frozen north. It is very
Yeah.
cold here.
It is pretty chilly, but
Hmm.
at least it's more interesting. It's a
True.
little bit more terrifying, to be honest.
Yeah.
General rule. I kind of don't know where to turn or where to walk. I kind of just want to stay inside with a nice warm beer and by a nice fire, to be honest. Because outside, it's pretty horrible.
It's pretty horrible. I will say, at time of recording, we're in the middle of a blizzard where I am, so I actually feel
Are
the.
you really? Oh, right.
It's
I've had sunshine, so.
Oh, look at you, I guess. Yeah, so I'm ready for this, going to Icewind Dale and the 10 Towns. That's where we are today. I think, it's interesting because obviously every time we read this, and we have read this before for transparency, we did it over on our sibling podcast, the DM's Book Club. Every time we look, obviously it's like, oh, it's horror and horrible and stuff. But I like the idea that maybe, like how they do the horror edits for like Disney films like Mary Poppins. Maybe we need to do like, come to Icewind Dale. It's so lovely here. Like, the tourist board attractions.
Yeah.
It's painting over all the horrible stuff,
Well, having looked at the Dale Lands. Oh, sorry, I'm already doing it. Looking at Icewind Dale. Back, it was a year ago, pretty much. It was like February last year. Because I listened to our old podcast, and it really feels like they've changed the horror. So
interesting.
Because what are the vibes we were talking about last time? So what we read for clarity was we read the gazetteer that was in the Rime of the Frost Maiden.
Yes.
And it's quite interesting to see how wizards have chosen to set the Icewind Dale, particularly of all places, I'd say, in a particular moment in time, which is like in the Rime of the Frost Maiden. It's very much focusing around Auril's. Which is the Frost Maiden, is like curse upon Icewind Dale. So it's been stuck in an endless winter because it used to have, it does now have after it, depending on how
depending if you've resolved this or not.
Resolved it or not. But before Auril turned up, it did have like milder summers, and there was time when it defrosted, and there are times to grow barley for mead, to have honey, to do all these things. So it's not a consistently frozen north. It's just particularly, it's good. It's like northern. Icy. It's like Iceland and like northern Norway, that kind of thing. So Arctic Circle stuff. And so it was very interesting how that we were saying about very midsummer vibes,
right?
In the sense that there was these, it's quaint towns, but really hidden behind it is cults and like particularly like these sacrifices to Auril, which do come up again in this setting, but in that time it was very much like there were public sacrifices were very dark sacrifices of not only warmth and light and food, but also people, and talking of like travelers being one of those people. So it was very much Wicker Man kind of, those midsummer kind of vibes, a little bit. The sort of like, we always said as well, we mentioned the League of Gentlemen, the sort of like
always
we do that quite a lot, the sort of like, oh, you're not local sort of thing.
And it's interesting here, because it talks about like Icewind Dale. All these settlers come from all over Faerun for various different reasons. So it's this idea of like running from your past and don't question anything. Everyone is viewed with suspicion here because obviously it is like survival. So as you said, this new primer, the Forgotten Realms, takes place roughly about 10 years after the events of Rime of the Frost Maiden. So it's interesting then to see that transferal, because whether or not you played Rime of the Frost Maiden, or if you want to include those events or whatever, you can have a real impact on it. And this is what I was sort of talking about in a couple of episodes before when we were doing the DM's Book Club. I really like it referring to, hey, if you play this adventure, add these things in, or this is might change. Because then it goes, oh, well, I want to go check out that adventure. I want to go find out what's going on here. So I do find it's really, it hooks you in with enough stuff. And I think this chapter, out of the ones we've read so far, has those hooks in it. Because again, it builds on stuff. It's like when we talked about Eberron recently in the DM's Book Club. whereby like we've read the original Eberron, the 5e setting.
Yes.
And then they've got Forge of the Artificer, and that built on it. And here again, it's built on it again with the Icewind Dale and the Rime of the Frostmaiden.
And I would recommend, if people enjoy what they hear here, that it is worth reading the other one, because you will get a lot more out of it and different things out of it. Again, I feel this book as a whole, if we're going off this and the Dale Lands, the two we've read so far, that that it is definitely much more surface stuff.
Yes.
There's less like detailed information than there was in the other one. There was lovely little adventures that came with each of them that was semi-related to the Rime of the Frostmaiden, but they weren't all necessarily related to Rime of the Frostmaiden. So I think it's really useful if you're like, oh, I'm enjoying the idea of this survival horror setting. I would say pick it up if you can.
I was going to say, yeah, exactly, because that primer, that 10 towns, has a load of little adventure hooks to start you off, and you don't have to do all of them. You could just do a couple, and then it's like, and now you do Rime of the Frostmaiden. And so, yeah, I feel like this is interesting. And I feel, going on about this as well, I wonder if this is going to happen a lot with this particular book, is that those areas that have more stuff already feel better written, or have more, like, I go, oh, really cool, interesting, because I have read ahead a little bit to Kalasham, and I was like, oh, I don't, there's not enough stuff. So I think here is interesting because it's got enough building on what it is before, and I wonder if they've got different writers for different sections.
Well, it feels definitely like a different writer to the Dale Lands. There's definitely there is less text in here than there is in the Dale Lands, and there's probably twice as much stuff in here.
Right, it's weird, isn't it? Yeah,
it's amazing, and it just shows, like, for any aspiring writers out there reading this Icewind Dale and comparing it to what the Dale Lands does, and how to get a lot in a little is just more, and it's more captivating. And I think maybe that's our own horror proclivities. Then maybe
I don't know what you're talking about, but yes.
But yeah, I like the beginning of this primer. Like, it has the what is Icewind Dale campaigns? I know it does this with the other one, but I like these ones. It's about survival horror. It's got Underdark excursions, which is actually kind of a new thing added to this, because that was very minor, as in there was like talk of potential aberrations down in Kelvin's Cairn as like a 1 in a million chance that you might come across something that's come up. But because of global warming again, there's the Underdark has started melting, and therefore all the horrible things from below have now started rising up through into the mines of Kelvin Cairn and the dwarven empires that below, which is kind of cool. And it says like weird tales, and it definitely does deliver, because pretty much every town has got something weird or horrible or terrible happening in it. I've got here the Underdark takeover. They've got a Stygian portal, Stygia being the cold, frosted part of hell. Duggan's hole is now called Duggan's Hell.
That was great. I love that. Yeah, we'll come to that.
There's a Slayer's. There's a I call it Slay Tree, because it's right. There's Weird Mead. We'll come on to what that is. There's a dead dragon that's doing terrible things to people's minds. And lots of diseases.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's interesting because it's not just like, oh, the cold's out to get you, because that's like obvious.
Yeah,
that is obvious. It's other things and other secret agendas, and I agree with you. I really enjoyed this idea of like, well, the Underdark's been melting away, but due to like climate change, but also there are other people at work, especially with this idea of the crystal shard stuff. And that's the thing. Admittedly, you and I have read a little bit of the Drizzt novels. We haven't got as far as the crystal shard, like trilogy necessarily. We didn't sort of read that sort of initial bit, and I was like, oh, maybe we need to read that before we read Rime of the Frostmaiden. You kind of don't hear it. Kind of gives you an idea of what's been happening. I would say I wondered whether or not, because again, this is where our own lack of knowledge comes in. I can't remember if Drizzt does turn up in Rime of the Frostmaiden or not.
He does. There's moments that talks about it. Yeah.
Right. But, so that's that whether or not you need to have read it to understand that all these like little Easter egg references, but it kind of doesn't matter here.
Well, I've read the Crystal Shard trilogy, and you gain a lot more from it, obviously, but that doesn't go too much into Slan. It doesn't. It kind of mentions that they summon a demon that spoiler alert, Drizzt kills, and then has 100-year, one of those classic, like, when I return, I will kill you, as it dies thing. And surprise, surprise, turns up again later on.
It's timely. It's not like it's not like a yodel package person.
Exactly. I can't remember if it's 100 years or 10 years or whatever it is, but it has that, like, I need to go back. When it dies, it never really dies unless you find it on the plane and kill it. But yeah, no, it does mention all that. And the liches are kind of, the crystal shard its creation is only very briefly mentioned in that. You only see some wizards trying to find it, and then the young upstart apprentice gets the power from it, basically, and is inhabited by the energy of these liches and grows the black tower. It's all very cool. So yeah, but you're right, and we mentioned in our last look at this of like the Thing and Alien and those kind of elements, in the sense of this, whereby you're put into these movies where they put you in these very extreme situations, space and the frigid cold of the the Thing being on this
the tundra
outpost.
Essentially.
And so it's that kind of, it's quite a tropey thing that the world is terrible anyway, like as in the existence and the environment is harsh, but it's furthered in its horror by the otherness that's out there. Do you know what I mean? Which is kind of plays on our own human fears. Like, you're a big fan of Solemn Vale, you're a big fan of folk horror, that whole idea of just the wood itself being a scary place, or just things that feel off, and so it's quite cool.
And then to compare it to, obviously, because then it talks about this Zlan character as like the new thing in Icewind Dale. Again, comparing it to the Dale lands where we had Moana being like, oh, it might be back or not. Here it's like, no, this creature is back, and it gives it like and here's how it's influencing.
So many different ways,
so many different ways. So instantly, like, okay, here are the main things that are happening, along with the 10 towns, their own sort of gubbins, and it feels like it's active, and it feels like, oh, there's so many things you can pull from here. Whereas again, in the Dale lands, I was kind of struggling to be like, well, the god of rot can come back or can be back, and it's building up, but there's no influence. There's not like a town that's really struggling, or because again, I think it was just really struggling to be like, here are the Dale lands and here are all their unique points of view, but then there wasn't anything necessarily happening or active.
No, and it doesn't give you a reason to go like, oh my god, do I have to go and stop this Miranda? Because he's kind of just rotting in the corner doing his own business, like whatever. Like, whilst here you've got also the Underdark and Slan, and then Stygia randomly. I think there's a little bit too much personally.
Sure.
I feel like they could have stuck with two things and allowed those two things to be fighting from both sides. They then have like the devils coming in, I think was just maybe one step too far. Just because they've also got the Centarum taking over one of them. You've also got this Dugan's Hell, which is sort of related, the monster and the blood curse, but it's not enough related. They could have just made that more of an aberration.
I thought so too with that, because obviously Duggan's Hole, like, I remember from my primary, was like middle of nowhere, and then they had these standing stones and nobody knew what they were for, and it's weird, and then now it's given some definition for it, which I'm like, that's really cool. I like that personally.
I do agree with that. I love how they've followed on from those stories, which is really like, and for example, I know I'm jumping ahead here, but Kerr Koenig, it carries on the idea that in that one we kept talking about how the speaker kept getting drunk and fighting people, and now he's no longer the speaker, he's now in jail for fighting the wrong person when drunk. And so like it follows on those little threads of storylines that was in between the two books, which is quite fun.
I do think like you could pick and choose as you want, as long as you just have a read of both of them, and you can sort of like create your own Icewind Dale like from that. But I like the fact it's like, here's some alternatives that have happened in the 10 years since then. And I'm like, that's really I like that a lot. Brilliant. Let's go into it. So as you said, we've talked about the different kinds of campaigns. Let's talk about the kind of people that are here. So as I said, it is again, it started off with this idea of like there's places of very harsh conditions. So you're thinking of the frost giants and demons and white dragons, because it's like at the edge of the world essentially. And then we had humans and dwarves come later, try to carve a life out in this bitter cold. But eventually what draws people here is this idea of like tales of gold, gems and ivory, drawing people, but as well as like running away from people as well. Like, you know, if you're on the run for some crimes, if you come here, you can just disappear because nobody wants to track you all the way over the spine of the world, right? And here it says the 10 towns accept anyone willing to work as long as they don't stir up trouble. They're tough, weather-tested people from all walks of life who lean on each other to survive. And it comes again to that survival here, mostly because, again, of those elements of the cold. And, like, you know, if you're stuck outside, as, you know, as soon as the sun goes down, that's kind of it. Not just in terms of the cold, but also, like, God knows what else is out here. You know, we have, like, all these kinds of, like animals and monsters, and like awakened animals as well, which I think is something that it plays on a little bit here. The idea of is it there's a plesiosaur somewhere that's like awake. So yeah, it's I think ultimately it's like, why do people come here? There is like fishing is the main thing, the knuckle-headed trout. It has like ivory-like bones, which again you can use for like carved pieces, which can then sell for a good like trinket down south. And so yeah, it is that heartiness and about living these places. And here in this particular chapter, it talks not only about the 10 towns, but also about sort of the nomad camps that are also going around on the outskirts as well, which I thought was a nice addition, because from memory, we didn't really have that in Rime of the Frostwind. I think they get talked about later on in the adventure, but not so much in the primer.
I think there's one of the adventures, one of the little mini adventures mentions one of them, I believe. It also, you know, Wolfgar comes from the Companions of the Hall, is from one of these barbarian hordes that in the beginning of the Crystal Shard attacks the 10 towns and tries to and takes up ownership of it for a while, you know. So they the thing that's happened in its past. So that so not only have you got the cold, not only have you got aberrations and horrific things, not only have you got this Crystal Shard built by liches, you've also just got like tribes of barbarians that come and ransack you whenever they so wish. So it's kind of that's the kind of, and then obviously the dwarves are the sort of final part of this puzzle of the people who exist here, where they mine in Caer Konig, outside Caer Konig in Kelvin's Cairn, which is the big mountain up there. And but again, now like talking about all these things, they're now, no one's heard from them because they've opened the Underdark, and you're just like, what's happened to Buena Battlehammer? I mean, I guess he's in the hall, Mithril Hall, but still, it's like, it's quite it's gone very extreme. Do you know what I mean? Really
it feels like any one of these elements, as soon as they're out of place, it's going to cause a lot of trouble for everyone in Icewind Dale, which I kind of love in a way. Again, you could go different ways about it. Obviously, it focuses primarily on this Slan character, but I do like the idea of like, it is Mind Flayers, it is Duragar, and like they're like, oh, no one's heard of them. And then like again later on it talks about like one of the mines that's been reopened. And there's like these scouts that go, oh yeah, I'll take you down into the mine. Wink. And you're like, oh, dodgy. I don't know. And I wish one of the adventures had been about that. I think. I think the adventures, because it comes up with 4 here, one of which is like a Bastion one as well. I think it would have been nice to have one that was primarily about those mines. I think because there's one that's about the portal you talked about, sort of like that and was it Conan we'll get it right. Caer Dineval. So there's one in Caer Dineval. There's one which is about this old sort of dragon body that's been sort of turned slightly to crystal that becomes your bastion. And there's the one that's Duggan's Hell, and then there's a really cool one which is about this seer that is in Bryn Sharda, who's like, oh well, all these bad things are happening, and then it comes true, but it's actually like reverse engineering it to get them into power, which I like that one a lot. But I just feel like it would be cool to have it as like, what can we do in the mines with the Mind Flayers? But maybe that's too high level, perhaps. I don't know.
I agree. I think they could have added that one. I think they mention it so many times, like when they talk about Mead Hall, and they're like, "But I haven't heard from the dwarves." And then it's next year, "I haven't heard from the dwarves." And you're like, "So we go check are you trying to tell us to go check the dwarves out? Where's the adventure?" And I think that's and it seems like it's quite an easy one, because all it really is it's an Underdark dungeon crawl that you could just give people this idea of like, okay, so they're going to go in, they're going to do the classic, call it a mine bit, and they're going to find out that there's every, It's
Yeah.
my I know my uncle, he will show us a great time here, and then you get there and everyone's dead, and then suddenly you hear the what's this exactly? And then it's all the horrible things, aberrations come at you, then some mind flayers
fight your way
capture
out.
you,
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
why do you have to go and get them from the mind flayer? And it's kind of an easy kind of win, right? For wizards to write that sort of story. So yeah, I agree. But maybe they thought that's too easy. You can just do it yourselves.
You can do it yourself. Maybe. I agree. I think I would find that interesting, just because again, I find all the stuff with like mind flayers and Durgar really interesting. There's also stuff like here again. Maybe this mentions it more in Rime of the Frost Maiden. I'll say as well. It talks about like there's frost giants and Goliaths that are around battling for each other, and there's like two clans of Goliaths: the Griffin Raising, and I'm going to pronounce this wrong, the Akanathi, and the Thunlakaga. She says these two different sort of Goliath things. Again, doesn't need to have too much on this, but like I do think it's quite fun to have other maybe bigger giant humanoids that you could see fighting in the distance across this tundra. It'd be quite interesting to have. So
I think so. I totally agree. And just how that you could just get in the middle of it. Even the smaller towns of like 100 people aren't really a town at the end of the day, could be decimated probably by giants having a little battle nearby. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's some sort of Attack on Titan-esque type thing, but in the frozen north would be terrifying. I can imagine it being. Exactly. So you talked about sort of the aberrations, or we talked about Durgar. There's undead giants. There's also deep dragons as well, which I thought you'd find really interesting.
Well, which is what this seer actually is a hidden deep dragon pretending to be the seer and doing this like fake prophecies enacting. Exactly. And there's that whole element of the Underdark coming up is cool, and I think is a cool addition to this place because it feels very otherworldly, which I think is quite fun for this sort of setting. And then it moves on, in the next bit before you get there about environmental effects. It gives you some stuff. There's some rolling tables later about hailstorms, howling winds, psionic fields, which are kind of coming up from the Underdark. So you could get disturbing dreams and vivid hallucinations, and you get like frightened condition when you wake up, which is kind of cool.
I would have liked a rolling table on like different kinds of dreams you could have had, like just like inspirational prompts. So I know that's all. I mean, easy enough for someone to come up with because you just play on like what happened earlier that day or a couple of days ago, and then people can be mad at each other because you have that paranoia when you wake up. The first person you see, you're paranoid about them. I was like, well, you should tie that into the dream, perhaps.
100%. Cool. And I think like it comes up so much. They utilize the whole dream thing because of the aberrations, muck around with that. So I think, I totally agree. I think there could be some fun. You could play. We'd also talked about this Chardlin creating violent surges as well. I feel like they could have added that in potentially as well, but it's no biggie.
Right, it's something that we're building in, isn't it? That's we're enjoying that. Yeah.
And then you've got like other hazards like I've mentioned those diseases. So there's also this bile lichen, which is
sounds awful.
Horrid stuff. I love it. It's like a patch of bile is touched. It releases a cloud of spores that fills the clue, and it's basically Last of Us-ish again. And you sort of get ill. You have to make Constitution saving throws, and if you die, you actually grow, you rise up as an undead, which is kind of cool. And they play on that in one of the storylines in one of the towns where this person's looking for their wife, and her wife is like, it says, by the way, they're dead. They're a zombie.
She's pretty dead. Yeah. It says it's a toxic green yellow substance resembling vomit, and in my head I'm like, why are you touching that? And I do like the idea like someone slips or something, and you're like, oh, someone pissed in the snow. What's going on? And then it just you get attacked by it. Yeah. Oh, horrible.
And you've got this Chardlin from Slanic Chardlin, so it's like these pieces of Chardlin which are crystal shards of the Crescenibon. And if you can either get like a frightened condition, stun condition, or charmed. And so like there's these kind of interesting things if you come across it that you can play on, and it talks about that later on with like when there's other elements that you come into contact with this Slam thing, and it can actually overcome some people. It's kind of given some of the characters in there have become like are corrupted by it, and they need greater restoration to undo the fact that they're now under the control of Zlan and feeling really like down, and they don't seem themselves, it says, and if you give them just a great restoration, they'll be fine. But
I like it. I kind of wish there was more to that, like you are like marked by Zan or something. I think you have some sort of these, I think, because obviously it has to be mechanical, so you get these conditions. I understand that, but I just feel like it's just an interesting thing, because it feels very like my precious, the golem as that you could really play into that sort of thing, and or pick an emotion on the emotion wheel, and they're very sad or they're very angry, and really play into that, and how far can they go in terms of their role playing, So
Fiona, the crystal shard is so Lord of the Rings and
the really?
Hobbit. Like, it's basically is that like the whole thing is so like, it's a D&D version of the Hobbit / bits of, so like, yes, it is very much that, because it is the whole original apprentice is kind of like gets like greed and kills all the other wizards because it's like, it speaks to me, I shall have it, it's mine, sort of thing. So it is very much that like power corrupting thing. So
very cool, love that. I will say before we continue on, obviously you said magical contagions, it does talk about as well this idea of like fear and jump scares, which I thought was interesting. I'd not seen that sort of like, here's some advice on how to do jump scares in an RPG game, which admittedly is very hard to do, and I say that as a horror DM myself. I thought it was quite interesting how you build up, like, you do a little sighting, it's nothing, then something else happens, and then it's a thing.
A fake jump scare, and then the jump scare, as in like, so you come around the corner, and then there's a cat knocking over. Yeah, exactly. And then you got to do that to your players, I guess. Sort of like, it's not easy. I think the jump scare is a harder ploy.
I agree.
Without the actual physical jumping out from somewhere, and if you can do that by like going like behind your like
your DM screen,
rolling some dice and then going blah like that to them, I don't know if that's really going to work, but I think the whole point of building tension, and I think it's easier when you're lower level and you're like and you've got that thing, and I think I remember playing early level and being so cautious, like we got to door, every door you're checking, I'm going to check for traps, I'm going to listen from the other side, what can I hear, what can I see, and I think you've got to, I think the things you can play with your characters is like, you can roll to check, can you just give me another roll? I'm sorry, why? Just give me another roll. Just give me another roll. Yeah, and they're like, why? A hand grabs your shoulder. Fuck!
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing you want to do. Because it's like, I'm just checking the door. Everything's on the other side of the door. Oh no, there's a Night Stalker behind me. Like that kind of thing. And so I think, I think it's doable. It's just not, I don't think jump scares quite the word.
I agree. I think it is. I think in person is quite fun. I can imagine that. If you had like the big GM screen and you go, and you just go down close, and then you pick up the mini that you're about to use, or a picture or something like that, because it's like, horrible.
If you're playing over teams, it might be easy, because you could have like just like a really creepy doll to just go like that in front of the thing.
That's great. I like that. Or you turn on a filter, and or like back in the old COVID days where you'd have like one of those Instagram filters where if you smile it turned into like a demon or something. Maybe that's what you do, but you just don't tell anyone you've got it.
Or the other one is like, we were mucking about with cameras when we were just hanging out with the bastards the other day.
Oh yes,
we call the bastards, just clarify, our friends.
Call
the backward bastards. Anyway, but my room looked really dark. I was wearing a dark jumper, so everything was like darkened out, and I was just wondering, like, you could, if you had a good friend that was living with you and you're like, hey look, just for the first 10 minutes just stay in my room in silence, in black, right? And then just let me, while I'm talking, and then just come out up from behind and go like this. That would freak them out.
Pull them back into the darkness.
Exactly. Darkness. Or just have a hand come up from here and just be like,
because
behind you, like, what are you on about? There's nothing there. And they're like, no, there's something seriously behind you. Then it just goes blah in a creepy mask.
I love that sort of stuff. Because like because you had like a long shirt on as well. So all we could see is your like magic hands, which they could then do like the Thing sort of thing, like from Adam's Family. So I think that's the thing, is like, again, as long as everyone's up for that sort of stuff, because it's just. I find it really interesting, like, how can you do jump scares, how can you do like found footage and all that sort of thing, and it's just the way of that, building that sense of silence and unease and like being okay with it, and it's different ways to do it, like as you said, like in person and online. I like the fact that they've given some advice here. Whether or not we agree with it is by the by, but we didn't have anything like this in the Dale lands, so
No, I agree. Also, if you want to see people like doing good scary horror, watch actually Cult Divinity Lost by with Fiona GMing. Very, very, very scary, horrible, scary.
Yes, I mean,
Things coming
admittedly,
out of paintings, it was horrific. Yeah.
and admittedly, yeah, Cult
You
Divinity Lost
licking your
is great for it.
teeth. Amazing.
I don't know what you're talking about. But yes, Cult Divinity Lost is like the horror RPG, I think. So your mileage may vary on that, but yeah, on the RPG Geeks, I did a very short campaign. The Atrocity exhibit. Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
If you're down for horror, there's like you really have to be down for it. But if you want a good example of how to like do horrific creepypasta, that is the ultimate version of it, I think. Yeah.
I do like the idea of like putting a scenario like that. So like that was all about an art gallery exhibition that the evil sort of punched through into the real world and like everyone went to shit. I like the idea of like doing that, but in Icewind Dale. Like they all come around to Bryn Shana and it's like, and now it's time for the community art exhibition. Let's everyone go to the big like council hall and then like, wow, little Timmy's really worked hard. It's like the Scream S sort of thing, and it's like I saw this near Kevin's cairn, and you're like, how weird.
No, they're carving them out of like charnel in corrupted like Scrimshaw and the tree which has got the shards in it that makes them murder their friends. That one, another one we'll come to.
I like the idea that there's some old lady who's like, I just found these nice bits of sea glass and I've put them into a mirror, or I've trinkets I will sell, and of course they're all like chandelier, like that's awful.
No, 100%. Isn't that actually a story? Wait, I'm sorry.
I'm sure it is. Yeah,
I think that's totally a story where there's like a lady with a little creepy glass that makes things, then hands it out, and then it's like a mirror that like those fractine mirrors that like trap you in there. It could be out of that.
Maybe, anyway, sorry, we're making our own scenarios on this. So you can tell, like again, we're a bit more enthused than the Dale lands, where we were really struggling to make this happen. But as you said, obviously magical contagions. We've got the lichen plague is what you were saying before from the bile contagion thing, and then mud pox, which I think is really interesting because then this comes into play in one of the towns later. This idea that people are contracting because they're basically mudlarking in the frozen north, which I find is wild.
It's in the first town, isn't it? Yeah, I love that.
I think that's really cool, and I think mud pox. I just find that really interesting because that's such a. It feels like all these places, and again, I know this is part of like high fantasy. There's not necessarily like vaccines or what's the word I was thinking of? Alchemicalists, but also herbalists. Apothecaries. There we go. I feel like there just isn't many people who do that here, and so they're just like, well, Brian's sick. I'm sure he'll be fine. You'll sleep it off.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, the only alchemist I can think of is the one who's brewing his mead, which we'll come on to later.
Well, is he?
Which isn't helping. Which doesn't help anyone.
But I thought it was interesting this mudpox. The reason I say it is because it's like you come into contact with dead oozes from the Underdark mixed with snow melt and mud, making people sick. And it disrupts your digestion. So when you wake up at dawn, you have to succeed on a Constitution saving throw or vomit up food that you ate the day before. Oh, that's horrible. That's sort of sign, and you're just like, oh, not well. But like, I just thought that was really, I don't know, visceral. But also combine that with the environment. If you're camping out, or if you're about to go out, and kind of say, oh, so it's just, well, maybe you should stay here whilst we go out and investigate what's happening at the high station or something. So I just thought it was a really interesting compared to other ones where it's like, it's based on sleep, or like you're just exhausted and you're paranoid. Here it's like, I don't know, I felt it really visceral. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. No, it's a horrible thing, and as someone who's like, I know I've read the Mudlarking book, and there's some people in it that are really not very nice people. You're kind of like, maybe they could do us some mudpox. There's not it's a bit harsh. This is one that's just like, I am the best at mudlarking. I get all the good stuff, and they're just so up themselves, and you're kind of like, maybe I can imagine those people getting the mudpox, and the nice ones not.
I feel because obviously mudlarking is this idea again. We'll just explain because obviously you and I know what it is because of our friend Taylor from the Backwater Bastards talking about it so much. But this idea of like going into like rivers whilst the tide is out or whatever, and then sifting around to see what treasures have been like left in the river. And often it is just like stuff that people have thrown in, like a bike or something, but you can find like coins or anything like that, and it is fascinating to see people like rush down and like try and it feels like a gold rush, right? There's that sort of vibe
one in London, because the big one is the tide and the Thames in London. That's the one I read the book on after like Tay sort of talked about it so much. I saw it when I was on holiday, when like one of those book sharing things. I like swapped a book out for that. And it's really interesting because what is fascinating down there is there was a font that a guy got so angry because his friend tried to steal the copyright from him. So he said, I own it, and he said, well, I'm just going to take all the copies and I'm going to dump them in the sea, in the river, so you can't ever use what I've my creation, because they tried to take their copyright. And so people have found pretty much all of the fonts from there and have recreated. There's this one guy who was like, I've got most of them. Look at me, guy. He's really, really up on himself about his font he's got. It's a really nice font though. I recommend looking it up because it was used to make one Bible. It's really modernist, but for quite a Victorian font. It's very sweet.
Oh, how interesting. But you see what I mean? This idea of mudlarking again, it's such a small thing in the first town. We're talking about in Bremen. But I liked, but it becomes, because it wasn't as this mudlarking, this sort of thing, wasn't part of the primer we looked at before. But I just think there's something about it where I'm like, people digging around in the dirt, finding something they shouldn't, finding bits of the crystal shard. I absolutely, that feels really intense and really cool and very horrific. You find very needful things in a way, that you find something and then you go, oh well, I don't like my neighbor, I'm going to stab them, because those feelings. So I just thought it was again another interesting thing that maybe I wouldn't have considered before. We were talking about archaeological digs and very Egyptian, don't open the pharaoh's tomb because bad things happen. But here I was just it again, it's this combined with environment. I'm amazing. It sounds awful, so
I agree. I think it's funny again, because Bremen, I think when I looked at the last one, we didn't really talk about it at all, apart from the fact of these 5 taverns, which I have more to say on. It has given it at least something that's kind of fun. This idea as well of I like that the inn, they display a massive golden nugget, which is actually just a rock that they've painted gold.
Yes.
And this idea of that sort of prospect, because that's something that I don't think they've pushed harder than they did in the last one, where it was very much a prospect town. This idea of people go there to escape. It's that Wild West gold rush. Not so much gold rush in the sense that because there's not there never really was there are gems in these hills. It was very much people came here out of necessity, and that was kind of what I found a little bit annoying about it, was that there was never something that was why have I come here? Why has this big community actually been built?
What is it? What's this town for? Are they a trading town? Are they a weaver's town? Are they an artisan town?
It calls it a trade route, but I still can't figure out what it's a trade route for, because I said this last time, you're not going up and around to Cormyr. You're going to go through Silvery Moon from the coast. So I don't quite know why you're going up that way, unless you want to trade with the Goliath tribes. But is it enough of a trade? And it's just the fish, and the scrimshaw is just a trinket, really. It's kind of just like ammonite when you go to the Dorset coast. It's not no one's it's not there used to be a gold rush in ammonite, but it's not really a thing. And so I still struggle. So this kind of gives it that kind of well, there might be treasure in those in that thing,
in those mountains. Absolutely.
In this mud, and then I think the other thing I always think, it's a little bit Skyrim in the sense that I remember someone saying you go to, I think it's Frosthaven, I think it's Skyrim, and it's bitterly cold and everyone's my crops are dying, and then you walk 10 minutes down and you walk 10 minutes down the road and it's beautiful fields, lush mead, and you're just why don't you move, guys?
It's 10 minutes down the road. I'll pack your wagon.
Help you pack. It's empty houses. I've been in all of them. I've stolen everyone's cheese. Come with me.
There's some empty houses here. Yeah, I don't.
Exactly. So
but, I was gonna say, because buried treasure. This inn. Because one thing I think my critique from the last time was that it was always an inn, but there wasn't anything about them. And here, I know we had buried treasure and we had the 5 tavern centers. Center with the other 5 taverns, and there wasn't really much here apart from buried treasure. I think the owner's son had been influenced by the shard a little bit and had gone somewhere. I remember that, but it's here now. It's okay, buried treasure. It's got all this tat on the walls, and there could be something really valuable here, or it's just all tat. And I kind of like that idea of maybe they do find something that's an evil artifact of some sort that's speaking to people in the buried treasure. They've got Ewan's trinkets as well. Another idea. Again, I just like that. It's just, I can imagine this proper charity shop tat, and you're like, oh yes, and you just roll on a table and you make up something like, yeah, that is a high phase wing. And you're like, yep, that's what it is. And you're like, are you sure? It's like, yeah, pretty sure.
Pretty sure? Yeah, no,
Pretty
exactly.
sure.
I quite like, I think that's fun. I think my problem with the taverns is that there is a lot of taverns per person in this town. And I think it's more than the highest pub to person ratio there is in the UK, whereby there's 225 denizens here. If we don't even include the inn, which I'm going to say potentially you can get a drink there, but if we ignore the inn, there's 5 taverns. That means that, and there's one tavern per 45 people, right? Which is a lot. But if a quarter of those are children, that means there's 1 per 34 people. 1 for every 34 people tavern.
So there's one for you and 33 of your closest friends.
Yeah, exactly. So I just think that's quite wild percentages.
Because I remember last time the 5 taverns, so you've got Stones, Evenkeeled, the River's Mouth, the Grumpy Moose, and a Black-Bearded Brother. They didn't really have anything. I feel like I said last time...
Weren't they the ones ran by the brothers?
Yes.
Isn't that what it was?
Yeah.
So they were the 5 guys, and we were joking it was 5 guys.
That was what it was, 5 guys. I remember.
And they were the 5 guys, and they bought the tavern, and then they had never had the discussion about who runs it, and then they realised...
Yeah.
No, but I'm running it. And they were like, no, I'm running it. And so then they all got really angry and opened their own taverns.
Yes, that's what it was. And now they have these organized fights in the courtyard, which I do think that's quite fun. But I do think, we need, why is it called the Black-Bearded Brother? Is he the only one that has a beard?
Story here, which is a real shame, because that was what gave it character in the last one. So it is a shame. And it's a funny story. I think that's a really funny story, because it's like 5 brothers. Just that you could so imagine that happening when you're just like, oh, we're all going to start a business, and then you start the business and go, so I'm CEO, right?
Yeah.
But wait, no. You're CFO. I'm CEO. That kind of thing. Like,
I want to do a vegetarian-only restaurant, and you're like, well, no, we're gonna have we've
called it
pale
steaks
ales.
and steaks. What do you want about?
yeah.
I thought it was ironic.
And they're like, oh, well, I'm gonna sell only IPAs. Well, no one's gonna come for IPAs up the frozen north, So you're just trying to
exactly. They want warm, bitter. That's what they want.
But it's true. It's like, why 5 taverns in such a small, desolate place? Like, ultimately,
it needs that information.
I mean, ultimately, it does say, people. Let's face it. We know that alcohol. People would need alcohol. Just because it's a horrible place. But I do feel like maybe one of the taverns isn't as good as the others, so it's really bad. Or maybe that's where the Zentarum hang out. Or I think we need a little bit more to add to it. But I do like the idea that there is fighting now in the center of the courtyard, and you have a champion for either the Evenkeel's champion wins this time. Oh, that's 3 nights in a row. That's it. It's either alcohol or violence. That's the only entertainment you have here.
I mean, fair play. I mean, it's the Frozen North. What else are you going to do? And there's not a lot else going here apart from what we mentioned earlier, the Wet Rock, which is where this zombified wife of this other person is.
Because this had, I believe, again, this is where I'm going to rely on you a little bit because you listened to our previous episode, where there was a frozen lake, and then there was an awakened I want to say dinosaur underneath, or some sort of awakened animal in the lake itself.
No, that is where the Sahaugen are, which is in Caer Konig, I believe.
Yes, fair enough. Yeah, I feel like there was more stuff about a frozen lake or fishing, because obviously the whole point of this is that there's more fishing stuff. I kind of wish there was everyone, there's a day of fishing, and you win the big fish prize, and you'll have to really sit back, and then something happens if someone's on the lake and you have to go help them. I feel like that's because the whole point of this place is fishing is with the trout stuff. I feel like there has to be more stuff about maybe there's I know there's all that stuff to Oril. Maybe there's a big festival where everyone dresses up as the best fish, and there's a it's like
just big fish. You have to go fish for the largest fish competition.
There's that, but I think it's in Norway where there's a seagull competition where everyone does that sound, they do their best seagull impression. Yeah, exactly. So I wonder if you have a similar thing.
I'm so gonna join that. I think I think I at least get second round.
I think you get second round. Yeah, you get second pick. But it's I can't remember is it the gurning competition where someone puts their head through a some sort of horse tackle and they do a face. I think you can do something here, right? If it's not violence or that, it's gurning. I think that's what we need to do in Bremen.
Amazing. Yeah, no, I think you're I'm down with all of that stuff, and I think it is gurning because I think that's where they've got the water thing that they've awakened in the water. But because what they had in the Frost Maiden was that all the lakes had frozen over, so they were using it for transportation. So there was an alternate way across the water, was walking on it, not and then you had the thin ice whole thing there.
Horrible.
But you have because there was the boats and ferries weren't working because of the lakes all going down, and it was causing obviously businesses to go under. You then do get onto Bryn Shander.
Yes, this is the main sort of hub where you most likely will go to.
One of the three big cities, because I think it's Bryn Shander, East Haven, and I believe Telemaine.
Telemaine, I think so, yes, because that's where the big mining stuff.
Yes,
with the gems.
I think those are the big ones. So like 1,500, 1,200, and 1,000 people. So Bryn Shander's like new thing is it's got the speaker who's now got this seer who is this deep dragon in disguise as a dragonborn soothsayer who tries to capture everyone's attention. When they capture everyone's attention, when they're giving it, they kind of look at them and say, and something terrible will happen to you, and then they make it happen using their frightful Goliath bodyguard Fuldrek.
Oh, great.
Who's a Cult of the Dragon agent.
Seer Echomorn, which is a great name. I like that. I like this idea of it is that sort of drag me to hell type thing where I am gonna curse you with something bad will happen. You're like, oh, weird thing, and then I go, oh my god, all the bad things happening. But I like how the players are probably gonna be like, no, it's clearly this person's doing this. And you're like, no, it's I think you can just play up because again, this idea of paranoia and looking out for oneself. It's like, oh, you've been cursed. Well, we're not going to open our doors to you. No, I'm not. Oh, well, she's been right. The seer's been right this whole time. She said I was going to go bald, and look at me now. It's like, yes, you're going bald because you're aging.
I can see. I saw her with a razor the other day. It's growing back.
No. She was so true, and I gave her all my money. Of course you did.
Oh, yeah. Yes, playing on the thing. It's easier to con someone than to prove that you have to tell someone that they have been conned.
Yes, absolutely. Other than that, there's been a few other bits and pieces. It talks about the black iron blades again. Yeah. Which I quite like this idea. Crap blacksmiths, love that idea. Being outfitted means that you won't be taken seriously. But I like the idea. It's like, oh, what armor is that? Because it must have like a big old I always imagine it to be like a Temu or AliExpress, Temu. Like sort of like a logo, and you go, oh, black iron, huh?
Yeah, exactly. It is the Temu of blacksmiths. I love that. I just called it Crap Forge in my notes to remind myself.
I love it. Crap Forge, amazing.
It's also like a couple of things that we picked up in the last one about the Morning Lord having a different name, and it mentions it here. Al Moanta instead of Lathander.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then you've also got the triad of Tyr, Torm, and Ilmater. And it's kind of interesting how this little note on the house was shuttered during Aurel's everlasting winter, and the townfolk were angered because the priests were helpless before her wrath. And since it's opened, but albeit humbler than before. So you can imagine these sort of pompous priests teaching the word of their god, and then when actually something turns up, they don't do anything about it or help anyone. It's kind of interesting.
I like that. Yeah, I like that a lot. So what happened? Are you coming back about? Yes, we are bouncing back, but we're very humble about it. Yes.
Yes, we're here for the people. We're making good on our exactly.
Yeah, we're doing our best. Yeah.
And every city, it's got the market square, it's got the council hall, it's got the speaker's palace, inverted commas.
I love that. Yeah, I like the idea of a speaker's palace. I think that's always quite fun.
Yeah. And your town hall and everything like that. So I think there's more to say on it, and I think there was more to be said in the last one. Actually, there was a lot.
I think a lot of the adventure is based there as well. I think one thing we skipped over a little bit, but the sort of person that gets mentioned throughout this. Before in the Dalelands we have Alias. Here we have Sheriff Markham Southwell. Which again I assume appears a bit more maybe in the Drizzt novels, but he's just sort of there. Every so often he does a little comment, and you're like, Oh, nice to have you here, Sheriff. I guess. Again, I feel like I understand why maybe they have this throughout, because it's like a bit like the
where are you
Volo's
getting
things.
those?
Oh, it's like there's a guy that comes up. It was at the end of that one where it says Town Hall.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Sheriff Markham. He sort of is there, and like Alias was in the last one. The sheriff's in this one, and then I think it's the gnome inventor in Calamshan is the other guy.
Yes,
it's
I see. I never picked that up actually. I think I've just not picked up that they keep turning up. But yeah.
But the reason is because I don't think they add anything to it. Like I said, with the thing with and I know we always go back to this, the primer for the Dragon Deep Water Heist. What Dragon Deep Water Heist? Water Deep Dragon Heist.
That's one. Yep.
That's the sequel. When Volo is sort of talking to it, the voices throughout, and I liked that better than in the Sword Coast Adventures Guide, which was like in those voices as well. Here it's just like, oh, there's a guy, but then it's just like every so often it goes.
There's something that is missing from this, like the call out box is missing a lot from this generally. Like there's none of these little call outs to be like, and here be dragons or whatever, or like little tidbits. I love those in Planescape. They always had those little quotes on every page that sort of flowed into the artwork, and they were always really fun little extras. Sometimes they were in the text, sometimes they weren't, and they were just nice, like someone's like speaker says to local idiot basically, it's like something like that, which is which gave it real added to we obviously go on about how about how well written Planescape is, how like humorous it has, the sort of like the quality it has, and so those things always added to it, and I think it's something that is missing from these a bit.
Like I can't remember which one it was, and this is where you'll remind me, but there's one which was like Volo and Elminster, and Volo would say something and then Elminster would come in and go, not true.
No, exactly. Yeah. I think that was the Waterdeep one, wasn't it? I can't remember.
Maybe. I can't remember off the top of my head.
It might be an older one as well. And you're right. And it kind of went, he's just blathering again.
He goes, oh, don't listen to him. He's not. It's not true.
Exactly.
Here's the real chance of it all. That's the sort of thing.
What's that one? That was good.
I think it might have been. Yeah, but again, I think it's always good to have two voices, and we've had this again, like you said, in Planescape. There was one which had I think 2 or 3 different voices. Talking about it, and I always appreciated that, because rather than just, I'm going to tell you everything I know, it's like
you want the foil and the I forget the other the heel. You want the two. You want
the baby face and the heel, right?
You want I'm thinking. You want the straight man and the foil, kind of thing, like whatever.
Yes.
As in, so you want someone sort of saying it as it is, and you want someone joking it up a little bit and sort of being over the top in the kind of Volo thing, but you kind of. I always think of like Mort in Planescape, the skull, floating skull thing. I forgot what they're called, and that kind of idea. Mimir being sort of jokey, and then you've got someone going, yeah, but really it's this. It's like, no, they all die down there. You're all gonna die, and it's like, no, don't worry, guys, it's gonna be fine.
Don't listen to him. It's all fine. Don't listen to him. Yeah. Carnival or Carnival, even not Carnival. That's what. There you go.
Carnival. Carnival.
I
think it's care.
It is care, because I think it's like the Scottish word for castle, right? That's what I assume is the case. This is interesting because we had this sort of like a fortress before previously, but before, and you could go into it. I seem to remember there's another cult happening here, but it feels like is it a different cult this time? Is it the same cult? I'm not entirely sure.
Yes, because we had the Knights of the Black Sword. We did have more recently. We did have the Knights of the Black Sword cultists in there before, I believe. It's just that they hadn't quite yet opened a portal to Stygia. That was it. So they had moved in, but it still had this. It had a bit more on the story of this wealthy Cormyrean family of the Dinevs. Building this castle, and then when the orcs attacked, closing the doors and not and letting the people in to survive, and then they actually died anyway in the siege. The Richos, as I called it then,
the Richos,
and then they finally pushed out the orcs, and then a new load of settlers came in, and then the Knights of the Black Swords came in.
Nice.
It's kind of. What I think is lacking from this, personally, is that it would be nice if it said something to give it some value, I feel, would be that the Dinevs were clearly warlocks or patrons of a devil, and that would have just helped tie it all together.
Agreed.
Because I'm like, why have the Black Swords come here? Why this castle of all places?
Yes.
It just would be nice to... That's what I'm inferring from it.
Yeah.
Because it would make more sense why these people would be. I mean, like, yes, it's quite common that, they might lock the doors just because they're just selfish bastards, but it makes it more like, well, we're locking the doors because we're real devil lovers, like it would be it kind of makes it more fiendish.
Yeah, I think adding more to it than just greed for money. It says wealthy, right? So I assume it's the greed for money, but there's not. I mean, it's the middle of nowhere.
Why would a wealthy family from Cormier come here of all places to build a castle? Like,
right, you'd go somewhere much nicer.
Yeah, exactly, more palatial.
They must come here because they are running from something in Cormier, right? So there must be. Yes, I agree completely.
So maybe they got ran out of town because they were consorting with devils. They came here to continue their magical rites. Make it that people go missing from the village because they get taken for sacrifice or something like that, and then they get driven out. Then the orcs actually take them over. So yay, they actually die, but they're in the process, and so it's all good. But then the Black Swords have come back, and they've reopened this portal because they want to reawaken the Vistus's power rival Geron from. So I think that gives it a bit more.
Adds to it. And I did find it interesting because this is why, again, names are not my strong point. The is it Wild Dreth? There's an individual here who keeps it surrounded, this castle surrounded by this blizzard to keep them inside, to keep them safe, which I thought was really interesting. We're keeping them in rather than us keeping ourselves out. But then they'll be like, "Oh, you're an adventurer. I don't suppose you want to go to the castle and just check it out for us," and hoping that these adventurers will kill the people in there and just clear it out rather than sacrifice. I thought that was just a really fun way of doing it. I think
it's really interesting, and that idea that they're trying to just hold back the torment that's coming from the portal is being. And there's something kind of crazy about you could play on that whole mist thing that you're walking through, you're approaching the town from the wrong side, let's say, and then you suddenly get caught in this swirling thing, and then there's just an imp flying around in it who starts attacking you. Do you know what I mean? That could be kind of interesting. And then you roll a couple of dice. Which way do you get blown out? The good side or the bad side? You end up inside. There's a castle. Looks warm. Why knock on the door? Dung, dung, dung. Hello.
Maybe split up the party even. Some people get in, some people don't. And maybe it's because they are more. Again, it could be. You could make it down to be an alignment thing as well as a random roll as well. But I like that idea of suddenly, oh no, you're on one side, and you can see each other going hey, we'll meet you inside. We'll find a way in. You're and maybe time is slightly different there. Maybe it's much faster on the outside or slower on the inside, so it may take you several days, but it's only been 5 minutes on the inside, perhaps, because they're trying to. Maybe it's their own little plane. Perhaps they're just trying to keep it contained. I don't know.
I like that. That's cool. Yeah. So they're slowly so they're actually slowing it down as well. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Because maybe because the portal's maybe opened maybe an hour ago, and all frozen up, and it's been 10 years or something. So it's just
you could play it on the people on the outside that someone comes up to them and goes, "Oh, did I see your friends were trapped in the thing? You know who's doing that? The evil orc druid. He's been putting it, and so he's the one that's forcing that wind.
Oh, that's fun. Yes.
Yeah, my people are trapped inside. Can you help me save them as well?"
Yeah,
and there you go.
Oh, I love that.
I think that would be great. And then that allows, then it's the whole, oh, I'm hearing someone else sing in the house. It's someone else is in the house, Fiona.
It's because we've got my partner's home because it's the blizzard. So that's why, sorry, you were what's going on?
I was Fiona's okay, now she's doing the trick, jump scare on me. There's someone. Fiona, someone else is in the building.
No. My partner just said he'll do it again as well.
Amazing. So and that whole it's actually the devils obviously using you, and then maybe you do attack and stop his magic, and then that unleashes the devils oh no, what have we done?
So absolutely. It's I think there's a lot to have here, which is more than just the fortress. I think because I think again previously I think it was an inn, and you're there's not much else here, but I think making it about this is the place with the fortress with the evil coming through. That's what the town is. I think and a lot of these towns anyway in 10 towns are just settlements that people are just going to hang around together because we kind of like each other, or we put up with each other enough, So.
No, exactly. I think there's because it was. Oh no, it's the next one. It's the next one that's a bit weirder. Sorry, I
Yeah,
forgot about. But yeah, no,
the
it
two
didn't have a lot
cans.
again. Yeah, the first Ken, it just had the creepy thing, and I remember me saying that was my favorite for a joke thing in the sense it just had the creepy castle, but it didn't have a lot more going on.
Yes.
So, but then we get the other
Koenig, I think.
Yes, which is near Kelvin's Cairn.
Yeah, and I think this is an interesting one because this is like according to this, it's like the stop off point before you go either to maybe Kelvin's Cairn or even to the new High Plume station, which I think is interesting. That this is like the last outpost before you get like on the I think is it here that there's like the little bobsleigh place with all the stuff. Yeah, Frozen Far Expeditions.
Yes.
So this is the reason why you'd go. This is your last stop before the end of civilization, technically, before you go out into the wilderness, which I always think is quite fun and interesting.
Yes. We mentioned this was like, I remember Pit Lockery at the time because it was like that place is like what it calls itself like the gateway to the Highlands. So there's all the mountaineering shops and the biking shops in that town before it's the last town to buy all that stuff before you go off into the Highlands sort of thing and into the wilderness where you're just going to have villages of 10 people until you get to like Aberdeen, obviously. But you know what I mean? This kind of idea of like a gateway town where you would have the supplier shop and I'm thinking of Frozen. In Frozen, the guy. Oh, hello, welcome to my shop.
Hello,
that guy.
Welcome to the shop.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
that's how I'd absolutely play. I think they're called Tenas. I think that's how I play them. It's like, oh, welcome to my shop. Oh, Hugh. Yeah. You know, like just random Norwegian phrases I'll throw out. Hook, line, and sinker we talked about before. I remember this amazing tavern. What a great this idea that you hook them in with a free pint of ale, plenty of food and drink, the line, and then the drinking contest at the end, the sinker. Great. Yeah. I'm always like, you know what? It knows its brand, and I think this is the one I'd have like a tavern that has the merch, right? You'd have it as like you got the cap,
hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah, and I'm the sinker. Like
I got sunk at the hook, line, and sinker.
There you go.
I'm hooked on the like.
I just feel like we need a shop like that. That's just like merch because that feels more and maybe like again if you're like, oh, we were here 10 years ago
from merch.
From our own merch. But I like the idea of like you come back 10 years later and you go, oh, welcome. Hey, well, you got the old t-shirt, how about this one, and you just
exactly. It's so true. And this is the one I mentioned about the former speaker who it says in the last one used to get drunk and beat up like baddies and then it's now got drunk and beaten up the wrong person, has now ended up in jails.
Yeah, and I will say the threat here, as well as we've got the hook, line, and sinker, and then we've got the Northern Light, which I thought it had more stuff in it than just it has a color changing light bulb outside of its door, but there's sea devils, i.e. Sahagin here.
Someone stole their light. That's what happened in the last one. That was it. Someone stole their light, and that was the quest to get the light back. And it was a Durga, I think, who'd stolen it.
Oh, fun! I see. I do like that. Maybe maybe this time you come back and there's like a bouncer or a on guard.
It's just with it like chained to their arm, so it's like chained like one of those briefcases.
Yeah, well, because that things happens all the time, when somebody keeps like vandalizing like statues of it. And sometimes it's like, they nail it down, or they have like a watch saying, "Please do not, do stuff with our statue." I just like that idea that there is someone going like, "Hey, don't touch the light." It's like,
it's like got 4 locks. Like I'd like how it's got like 4 locks. So it's got one lock, and then someone's like locked it again. Now they put it behind a cage, and now the cage has got a lock on it, and now there's a bouncer, and it's just like, wow, how many times has this happened?
Duggan's Hole. Like I think we laughed about the terrible name last time, but I love this development of calling it Duggan's Hell. It feels so Walking Dead. It feels so like don't go dead inside, that sort of thing. This idea that it's an unlikable settlement at the best of times, but it's full of hostile, closed-minded insular folk who shun outsiders. But they've almost become, in my head, I know it doesn't say this, but almost like cannibal, like hills have eyes kind of thing because of this bloodlust.
Well, that was all subtly hinted in the last one.
Was it? Oh,
yes, it was. And we mentioned like it lent very heavily on the everyone's of the same family thing as well, a bit too heavily in the last one. But it did mention this kind of like cannibal thing. or at least we mentioned it because we said, "Oh, they're all cannibals."
God, we're so smart, aren't we?
Or they're listening, Fiona. They're listening.
No.
But yeah, it feels like it was on the edge, and all that's happened is the Chardolins come along and just push them into their like ultimate feral, oh, we don't like locals round here.
No,
You're
we don't like
tasty.
outside.
I mean,
Ooh,
would you like
yum.
some dinner?
Yeah.
Because
the events that happened in Rime the Frost Maiden, this dragon, the Chardolin dragon, exploded Duggan's Hole, East Haven, and a little bit of, I think, the Goodmead place. And so they're trying to rebuild, but because of this influence and because of the elder Dubrace decided, like, I'm just going to dedicate. Again, you've got all these tropes you see, like, again, that Midsummer trope, the I can't remember the one it is now, but the Netflix show that's got a vampire in it who comes back to be a priest and starts killing people. It's just all these, again, small town, do some 30 days of nights, that sort of idea of like just everything is so insular. Maybe you could even make it, if it's not like cannibals, you could do like some sort of weird vampire thing or some sort of like that, anything to do with blood curses that people just act out and become more demon-like. I think it's just anything you could do, because I don't know Thrun necessarily, and probably it's going to be mentioned in the gods bit in this, but I just thought so interesting. And here, this is the thing, like this is the whole village has become this idea of like,
Malar is the god.
Malar, okay,
but it's the beast.
I understand. Yeah. So, but like you have Dubrace, and you got like his 3 siblings, and then you have like an Auntie Nen, and so you have like more NPCs here in a tiny village of 30 people than in most of the other villages. And I just think, because it's like, this is absolutely a plot hook. This is a quest in itself that impacts on everything else. And I just everything about it, I just like, this feels really interesting,
Yeah. So I just quickly, Malar is the god of the bestial hunt. So, and that's
fun.
It's one of their beasts of Malar.
So as you're traveling through, you just see people like scurrying tree to tree and like they're preying on you and hunting you as you go down and like attacking little caravans.
The most deadly hunt or something like that? Is that the humans?
Something like that.
That's when you kill people and you go after humans. Yeah. So like the deadliest
the greatest
prey.
Game. Yeah.
The greatest game, isn't it? The deadliest game was like, I can't remember.
Something. I mean, it doesn't matter. You can make it up. The
greatest game. That's football. But yes.
That's a beautiful game.
Oh, the beautiful game.
The beautiful, greatest, deadliest game. Humans.
Yeah, no, it's got a few other things. It's also got these this little goblin who's not affected by but it's also just causing ruckus anyway. So that's quite interesting. And the pike wall is a funky thing. It's like, it's not to keep people out, it's to keep people in.
It's pointed inwards. That's the thing that I find scary, right? You come across it and you just see this whole pike wall with like leaning it. Oh, I find that scary. Again, this is the thing I was talking about before. This idea of having visual clues of like something's not right, and like, you talk about the causes, but like having a list of like, hey, you come across this pike wall with things that go in, and you're like, that's weird. It looks like they're trying to keep something inside.
Yeah,
we shouldn't go here. Like, love that.
It's a classic.
Yeah.
And then I think there's a lot there, but I think that is pretty much it. Before you move on to East Haven, which is the one that really got, as in like, even though Duggan's Hole was completely hit by the dragon, this one where the dragon fell and landed in one of the taverns.
Yeah, Dragon's Ditch, this sort of north-south furrow, it's still happening. It reminded me a bit of like, in Neverwinter, there's a big sort of crack in the ground, which they never really fixed. They've just not fixed this Dragon's Ditch. But they have set up shops all around it that are selling merchandise of like, oh, come in, have a drink. Oh, this is Dragon's Ditch, where you can see the dragon from here,
Yeah, but you can't go beyond the like palisade wall, because that's, you get like violent rages or visions come to you. So you like have this violent urge, that's what it is. It's kind of interesting. There's like little hints here to, as I said earlier, about the old ways of East Haven, because East Haven went heavy on the sacrifices, by the way. They were one of the ones that was like, when Oral was doing the frosting, they were like, there's going to be a tally, and every time there's a tally, it was that you're going to be one of the sacrifices. And so it was really grim. Cool. And it started up again, and so they're keeping those secret, which is kind of interesting. So like, but it's kind of like the hidden dark past of this town, which is it's really quite mentioned, but it is kind of interesting how that is what it is. So
I'd say the other thing about East Haven, which I thought was really interesting, that it mentions it, and it makes sense because obviously it's like founded by these rogues on the run from various thieves guilds, but it's the only place in 10 towns where pickpocketing is legal, and I just thought that is such an interesting concept, like because surely it's like it's just like, well, finders keepers, that's sort of like, well, you should have been looking after your stuff, and again it goes into the attitude of all these people here, and I think because then it's like, oh, it's like you go, wait, we can do this, and so you maybe the more aggressive players might try and do it on other people, but then as soon as they're out of East Haven, they try it somewhere else. Oh, well, that is illegal. So what do you mean? It's like, this is the only place you can do it is in East Haven. Them's the rules,
Oh, that reminds me of that. I don't know if I had some good moments. That TNG episode. You've watched the Next Generation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's the episode where Wesley they has a rolling has that rolling blackout of like, there are no rules on this planet apart from like certain designated zones each day where laws are enacted, and every law is punished by death. So that's how they've like dealt with it, because there was too much like unwieldiness. So the reason was, you never know where it is at the time, but if you're in this zone and you do something bad, then you're punished by death. And so he catches a ball, smashes into some glass, which breaks someone else's property, and so he's gonna get put to death because he's like done this thing. And you're just like, oh, it's so ridiculous. It's a ridiculous premise, but
it's very The Purge, isn't it? Where for 24 hours, murder everything. It's fine, just to get rid of all those violent tendencies. Maybe that's something you could do here. Like, again, I don't know about how extreme you want to go, but it's like, oh, in order to please Aril, for the next 24 hours, or from dusk till dawn, everything's off limits. Have fun, and people get killed or like all sorts of stuff.
I mean, like, it's totally doable, and that you could add that to the whole oral story. To be honest, that could work.
You could do that, but also with the Chatelain stuff as well. That's what's influenced it. People get more aggressive because again, I like the idea. Yeah, it's or
maybe it's if you go in beyond the Palisades. Whatever happens in the Palisade area happens, and violent, like there are no laws there because the violent rage overcomes people, and it's like, I don't know if you could add that in as this sort of like fighting pit, and maybe people are betting on it, and there's like a dark trade of like illegal like betting on people going in there and chucking people in there.
That's what I was literally thinking.
Gangs are doing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like you open up, like the thing is like late at night, and then you have these midnight arena fights, and you go in and superpower yourself up or something. I think it's a contest of some sort for sure.
Like running the gauntlet. What's it called? The running man sort of thing, isn't it? Is it Running Man? Yeah, it's sort of that kind of running the gauntlet of like, will you make it through sort of thing.
Absolutely. I mean, there's the other one I wanted to mention here quickly is the White Ladies Inn, because that was like a basically, from what I remember, that was like a very ghost-like place. There was specters and stuff, and I think the owner was kind of trying to do like a seance or something like that. That's what I seem to remember in the previous one. That's what I seem to remember. It's just like it just feels like very like spooky stuff in the middle of this very, again, I keep going back to this tundra-esque side of things. So like horrible things happen here, but then you're like, well, we have to stay the night because it's freezing cold outside, and we don't know when dawn's going to be. I think that's why I would want to play on the idea of that, like, again, the most northern point of the world, you either get full daylight or no daylight. I really would like to play with that and see, like, maybe that affects your long rest and your sleep and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, love that idea.
No, I think that's interesting. Yeah, I think you can play it. And I just think I like the sort of like, is it haunted or is it just this guy being a really good performer playing thaumaturgy on everyone, which could be quite cool. Then you got good mead, where you've got the bad mead, where you got Festress Pillcone. What a name!
Some great names here in this one.
Who's the new speaker and is basically there's one person. I love this one person who's like the one person who voted against them is the one.
I don't like mead.
I don't like this guy. There's something wrong about this guy. And it turns out this wood elf is up to no good because they've got people to build them a secret little bunker. They killed all the people that built it for them. Said they were out of town. They were from out of town. Brought them in, and then they've just gone back home now, and they're actually all dead. And it's because he's taking breeding strange bees and mixing honey with bile-lichened slimes and oozes from the Underdark and concocting mead with powdered chardolin, and he's got no remorse for it, and he's just giving a note for the harmful side effects it causes to all these people, like obsession, sloth, forgetfulness, and erratic behavior. It's like, what a horrid guy.
Yeah, I guess I don't know.
Ruining the beer.
Like, I wonder, again, it would be nice to have some sort of background. Is he on the run from something? Has he been run out before? Is he some sort of charlatan in that sense? Or is it the chardolin, like, influencing this? Like, maybe he was a good guy recently. That's the only thing I wish is, like, what's the goal at the end? Is it to just, I want to experiment with the honey? Is that it? That's fine if it is. I just think that's the only thing is, like, it feels like there should be something more here, because Good Mead previously, I seem to remember the speaker had been murdered, and they were like you had to find out who it was that was doing it or something like that. I love this idea. I love strange mead. Again, it's that sort of thing. It's like, what a weird thing to do. Like, because honey and bees is, for me, they always feel like that's a spring summer thing. That's the good weather. And here it's like, well, where are the bees? Don't worry about it. Like, hands.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it says like, why can I hear bees coming from downstairs? Well, just happy bees. They're just happy bees. You're like,
pissy.
Yeah, it's really creepy. And I like there's this Bilka has a neutral good Allosaurus as one of their pets, which is kind of cool, called Sweet Tooth, which is sweet. And because this land was originally fostered by Choltian people, and that's why there's some Choltian people still about.
And the name, and it talks about like the drawings on the walls. They're all sort of like Cholt decorations and stuff. I think it's cool. And there's another place I think that had similar things. Actually, as a Termalan, I think, or Termalin, which was like people from Kalamshan, so they have similar like vibes of the decoration and stuff. And I thought that was really cool as well, that you could, like, again, go in deep with, like, hey, you could tell you recognize some Shalaman or some Choltian like decoration here, and you're like, oh, we've been there, or oh yeah, we were supposed to go on that quest and we never did,
or it could be a route into the quest. Like, you go through this thing, you go into the basement and you find I don't know, a secret letter to the king of Kalamshan or something, along those lines, which just links you there. Or like Cholt, in the sense of like, oh, but I left my soul buried in the Tomb of Horrors, like, and so like, if you want to kill me, you must find me there, and that's what you do there.
All my gold happens to be at the bottom layer of the Tomb of Annihilation.
Or you are cursed by the Tomb of Annihilation by being cut by my blade, so your soul will go into the soul. What's it called? The Soul Annihilator or something like that. Soul,
the Soulmonger is what it's called. I like the idea of Soul Annihilator. You won. You're like, I don't know. Well, all the souls are still here. Yeah, no, they get annihilated. That's turned up to 11 then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Hurry up.
Soul Annihilator.
You've got 10 days till it's cooked. So
a slow cooker for the souls. Gross.
Isn't that a book? The Chicken Soup for the Soul? Isn't it? It's basically
similar. Yes.
The Annihilator for the Soul.
It's a Serax cookbook.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Amazing.
Lonely Wood. I want to talk about Lonely Wood because I love all the vibes about it. There's not much about it.
Surprise.
Surprise. But so surprise, there's not much about it, but also surprise that I like it.
That's what I mean, yeah. You like it.
The idea that people go to Lonely Wood to disappear. A quiet village of 100 populated by loggers, fishers, and scrimshanders, many of who once were thieves or murderers or otherwise harbour a secret they've killed to protect. They have a custom which is never bring up the past. Those who ask questions are run out of town or vanish. So cool. And then it says it's more forest than village. And again, it just, you have all those like, oh, what's the one? Oh, there's a Fargo is the film I'm thinking of here. Whereas everything's just like, oh, yeah, again, that we're locals here. Who are you? And just everything about it is just interesting. And like it talks about here, the speaker, Nimsy Huddle. She's a kind She's a kind white-haired elder, but like her neighbors, she has been corrupted by the Charlatan. She now spends her time complaining about the village's lack of appreciation for her lifetime of services, and she's been thinking about appropriate punishments for those she believes have done her wrong. Incredible. Again, that very needful things aspect of like, oh, you want this? Well, could you do me a favor and just, I don't know, pull a prank on this person, and if they die, that's fine too,
Yeah. No, it's really cool. I do like that, and that, as you said, like it plays on the sort of like probably part of her does feel like I'm not appreciated enough for all I've done, but it ramps it up to a level.
Amplifies it, absolutely,
which is really cool. And I think that's something you could play on with your characters as well, like find out what their weaknesses are. I mean, you could be pretty brutal and be like, you know what, in real life, you're a bit of a, this is the thing you've got problems with. We're going to play on that if you want to be that kind of thing. But, you know, like, if they've got a player that
characters got daddy issues or something.
Yeah, exactly. You could really just like lean into those things.
Yeah.
But I think that's interesting. I totally agree. I think the idea of this this knotted what's it called? A jagged pine.
Jagged pine's so cool.
Barker and Kaz, the hobgoblin loggers, took from it. And I'm like, guys, it's got crystal shards coming out of it. You know by now this ain't a good thing. Ooh, maybe a good idea. Let's put this in here. No, so they've gone and stuck it in the middle of town as like a little nice thing.
Like an awful Christmas tree is what I was thinking.
Like really horrific Christmas tree, and it's causing everyone to get worse and worse and worse. And so you have to go and plant it back in the wood, or the village may fall to murder and mayhem.
Love it.
So that's
I quite liked again, I think this came up last time as well in that primate, the Happy Scrimshanda, which is like you sell they sell tools, but the owner is someone called Harrowhill, who is an assassin. She regards everyone who comes into a shop with suspicion and secretly decides how she would kill each of her customers before making a sale. And I think we talked about it before about like where you would just role play and go, a rope,
yeah, exactly,
a knife to the back, you know,
murder suicide,
poison. You just say things out there and you go, I think I like the idea because it gives you something to play with. I'd like it so the other people could listen in on it, because like, if they go, are you plotting to murder me? You go, no.
Not now.
Not now. Let's do a deal. Oh, love it. There's even a little bit of Fae stuff in here as well.
There is, yes.
The Lucky Liar, with again another tavern. It's open longer than other shops in town to gather secrets, which I quite like. I like that idea. It's like, oh, the only place that's open, thank God. And you're like, yes. Where have you been? Tell us about your day. Anything you want to let us know?
Anything Fae related? I mean,
that's not bad there.
Any Red Wizard knows?
Any magic stuff?
I like how they're slightly bitter that they've been left out in the cold for quite a while, though, like on the nose. But you know, that sort of idea that they've not been brought back to Fae to Saztam. But there is. I mean, Fae is getting about at the moment. It's definitely on. It's happening, right? Fae is happening.
Yeah, well, we've had since we've been started recording this. They've announced the new sort of Fae adventure coming out at the end of this year. So I think everyone's keen for it. So
I think everyone's ready for a bit. I mean, like it was in the movie. It's such a classic. They are like a fundamental part of the baddies of D&D of Forgotten Realms. So I think. Yeah, about time we got some more Fae and it done well. So I'll be up for that. Hopefully it's good.
Fingers crossed.
I know. I was just a bit of a tangent, but like listening to our enthusiasm in the previous one is kind of different. It's just interesting to see how our literally the one after that we looked at was the Scions of Elemental Evil.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah, that was not great.
Since then, we've really struggled.
It's up and down moments, I think, for sure. Yes.
I think, but there's been a lot less of the ups than I've remembered in the past. But anyway, Targos, Zents.
Yes,
Targos is the other big one, not Telmain, I think. Well, maybe Telmain is also big. But
again,
1200.
I think whilst each of these 10 towns have stronger points of view, sometimes you're like, which one's that again? And you go, oh yes, rather than some of the Dale ones, you're like, no idea. At least here it's 10 towns, so it's settlements rather than 11 Dales, you know, where they have individual things. Absolutely. So more Zentarum stuff here. I think for me, the thing that Luskan Arms is the thing that stood out to me, and I'm sure that stood out to you. There's the oldest public house. It's built to look like a pub from Luskan. Its ceiling draped with sails, and its roof supported by an ancient mast of a ship. And again, just that visual of coming in. Maybe there's like wooden, it feels like a deck of a ship.
Yeah, the creak of the deck, and the sort of like someone playing the fiddle. You know, like a bit of that.
A squeeze box as well in the corner. Yeah, absolutely. I like it. It is the speaker's favorite drinking hole, making it popular. And because this whole place obviously is all about Zentarum and stuff. And then there's like one place at doesn't you can go there just to talk about how shit you think the Zentarum is, or maybe that's in the other one. I can't remember, but I like the idea that it's all Zentarum apart from this one place that everyone knows about it.
Yeah. Well, there's like so I work in Bristol, and I don't know if you've been to some pubs in Bristol, but there's a whole street. There's a street called Welshback, which then leads to King Street, and then on King Street, it's literally all the pubs that have been there since the pirate days, right?
Oh,
and they
fun.
are literally, we go to one and it's so quiet, it's hilarious. It's a Timothy Taylor, Timothy Taylor's, Tim Taylor's, you know, I mean Sam's they're like, okay, anyway, it doesn't matter. It's whatever. It's an old pub, and it has like these like very British, most pub bitters only kind of drinks that you can't get any, like, there's no branded beer here. It's just literally its own beer, and it's got like a fireplace, and it's got like a little entrance walkway to come in before you get in, and literally everything creaks. It's all dark wood. It literally got these little like vestibule booths that are like carved and stuff like that, and it's like literally it hasn't changed in 450 500 years. And
why would it?
Yeah, exactly. That is giving me these vibes. And it's called like the Thlan Dodger, because that's like a Welsh name for a ship, you know, and like
I love that.
It's quite crazy. And there's another one just a little bit further up where it's literally like each room is I don't know, in feet, like 7 foot deep, but it's half stories. So the building is like 14, but you go in half of it, then you go up half a story, and then you go up half a story, then up half a story, and it's all these wooden creaky stairs, and it's literally like everything's so dark in there, you can't see anything. It's proper pirate pubs. So if you ever want to get your proper Luskin on, go to Bristol.
Go to Bristol. That's what you're saying. I love that. I think that the Targos is definitely the political intrigue place. So you've got the Zentarum stuff. There's also like a spy, the wrangler of winged snakes called Flax Peripat, which I think is great, who's secretly a Harper agent. I think they got talked to before in the previous one. So yeah, I like that. If you were like, where do I want to start with, like finding out more about factions or anything like that, this is where you'd go. There's also a general store called Triglio, which has its own sea shanty, which or like it takes its name from a shanty of some sort, and I'm like, that's great. I think every shop you go in, the bell goes and it goes, oh, and all the shopkeep and it's just and you're just like, they have to restart every time a new person comes into the shop. And they're
we
like,
haven't
please.
Heard there was the big Bailey Bass hasn't turned up in this, which did turn up in the last one, which reminded me of. There was a magical big Billy Bass in one of the.
I think it's in Brenham. I think maybe it's the thing in the buried treasure. Maybe that's what you'd put in. Maybe that's what they're like. We had to take the magical batteries out.
It got stolen.
Oh, it got stolen. Amazing. And then Telemaine. The new mine stuff is what we were talking about. This is where the Underdark happens as well. I think the only
most
big
muscly picture I think I've ever seen.
It's like, good God. Woo.
There's some interesting muscles. I don't know. I don't think they're quite anatomically correct, but it's fine.
It's a fantasy, Hamilton.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Add more muscles is what I say to you.
Yeah, but they've got like a 6-pack on their arms. I don't think that's what happens unless they're like particularly. If that's a Draugr thing, I'm like.
Maybe you just you need to eat more of this knuckle-headed trout or whatever they're called. Like, you know, that's where you get your 6-packs.
6-pack arms. No, but it's this is where you've got a bit of the Underdark coming up as well, which is kind of interesting. There is an inn which has got cozy accommodations in the cellar, which always sounds cozy to me. And it's very much your Prospector town again, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I did like with I think it's the east side where you had these rooms underneath thing, is that you have it is on the edge of a psionic field, hence why they're getting these sort of like nightmares. Earthquakes and this is the thing. But I like the idea of like, getting really bad reviews, but there's nothing wrong with the room. Can you stay? Maybe it's haunted or something. And then it's like, we're getting bad headaches or bad memory or nightmares, and it's
Yeah.
because they're on the edge of this mind flayer colony, which I think is like, oh, I love that sort of stuff. I think that's really cool.
Nice bit of art of a hook horror, which is always good to see.
We love a good hook horror. But sad Peck. It's like, and we don't need to go. I know, it's so sad. We don't need to go into the beyond the 10 towns, but again, it gives you these examples of the different sort of Rayheg camps. We've got the frozen ruins, these ideas of steam vents where people might have popped up around. I think the one that I really enjoyed, look like the visual of it, is the sea of moving ice. So these like grinding icebergs that you would maybe have to move across. Perhaps maybe you're on a bobsled or something like that. I can imagine having an encounter on this way and something's coming up through the ice, or like you've got a frost giant following after you, and as you go, you're trying to outpace it before it like descends into the water.
It's a great place for like an abandoned ship to like, you know, that like a ship to be floating around and to finally find it that's been missing for ages, that once got caught up in the ice thing, and then it's like, oh my gosh, that was carrying the sword of Durda, and this is oh no, but people have been looking for the treasure of Longbeard. You know, like, is that what it is? And it turns out it's cursed, and there you go. You know, it's always
typical. Absolutely. So there you go. That is our whistle stop tour through Icewind Dale. I think, like I said, we've been like, like every town I've gone, that's cool, I want to do more, I want to find out more, and that's why I feel like we spoke off podcast about like maybe we should read through some of these adventures that they're attached to, because I feel like maybe we'd gain a little bit out of it. Maybe we'll be vastly disappointed, you never know.
Probably.
But yeah, I think the final things I should say is that again, like a bastion, if you want to have in Icewind Dale, would be this dragon thing, which again, an adventure takes place in this retaking of the Terror, where you get sent in to sort of clear out, and it becomes your sort of base of operations, which I like. I like that they're doing that in each of these places. But here's a place that you can is your HQ, and what there's a reason for you to take it. I like how they're trying to encourage you to get into it through that way, through the bastions. I think that's really cool.
And I think it was much more exciting, much more interesting, loads more to like play on. So much more of an otherworldly as well for players than the Dale Lands, and I think it just had more to it. I feel like the Dale Lands, there's things that we mentioned that were just like, just if they focused on Myth Draenor, if they focused on that forest, focused on Moanda, you could have come out with something really good. But it was longer and just more washy.
I wonder if we just don't have like a recent adventure that is based like again. I know obviously there's so much stuff in the previous campaign guides and all that sort of thing, and it's clearly there are adventures there, but I feel like because there hasn't been like, here's a recent adventure in the Dale Lands, like as in the starter set or something like that to get us going. Whereas here, obviously, it benefits, the Icewind Dale benefits from having the primer, right? It have from the adventure. So I'm like, so that's why I take it. But I also feel like two different people wrote 2 different chapters, and one was more successful, and maybe it was set up to succeed more than the other, is what I'd say on that.
100%.
All right, Hamilton, let us get off our snow boots. You know, all that sort of thing.
Some warm clothes now, I think, isn't it?
I am ready for some sun. So Hamilton, where are we going next time? Where's our next stop?
Kalimshan, the land of wonders, a rich realm that hides many secrets and fosters competing powers. Ancient lore lies buried here, and there's genies, there's Jinn, there's all these kind of exciting things down in Kalimshan.
I'm excited. I've already had a quick read ahead, and I'm like, some interesting bits here, because I didn't know anything about Kalimshan before starting this thing. So there you go. Thank you guys so much for listening and so much for watching. We are going to be obviously back next time, but if you want to check out more stuff, all of it's in the show notes, both myself and Hamilton's various different projects. You can also check out our sibling podcast, the DM's Book Club, wherever you listen to podcasts. And keep on keeping on, essentially. I don't know how to end. I'm like, how do I end this sentence?
Reading books, keep on D&Ding, keep on
RPGing. Yes, role playing. There you go. But with all that out of the way, I think it's time for us to say goodbye, and we will see you on
in Kalimshan. That's what we did.
Kalimshan. We'll just do that. I can't remember.
That's what we did. We said we'll just see you next time in Kalimshan, in the next place. I think.
There you go. We'll see you next time in Kalimshan. There you go.
Bye, everyone.